Servants don't sit with us. My nephew Charles said it while I was still holding the roasting dish, steam rising into my face. My sister Rachel laughing like he'd delivered the line of the night instead of a sharp insult. Her husband kept cutting his steak, the silver scraping against porcelain. My mother looked down at her napkin, smoothing a crease that wasn't there. No one corrected him, not one person. I set the dish on the table and asked Charles, very softly, "Who taught you that?" My sister Rachel leaned back in her chair, smiling with all her teeth, a display of dominance wrapped in a joke. "Oh, come on, Nora. He's joking. Don't be dramatic." Joking? After I had spent 6 hours shopping, cooking, and setting the table in the house Rachel lived in only because I arranged the mortgage after her last financial disaster. Not one person. She liked to forget details that made her feel smaller. So I took the empty seat nearest the kitchen door, the place intended for staff or an afterthought. And that was when Rachel decided to say something worse. "Honestly," she said, lifting her wine glass toward the chandelier, "you should be grateful we let you stay involved at all." I didn't answer her. That was what unsettled Rachel most. Silence she couldn't control, a void she felt compelled to fill with more noise. Instead, I folded my napkin with clinical precision and asked Charles if he wanted more potatoes. He blinked, suddenly unsure whether he had won or stepped into something he didn't understand. Rachel filled the silence for him, her voice dripping with a forced sweetness that didn't reach her eyes. "Some people need to feel useful." And the moment he saw my expression, his smile disappeared. "Nora likes helping," Rachel said to the table, as if translating my life for an audience that didn't exist. "Some people need to feel useful." Useful. I almost admired the efficiency of it. In one sentence, she reduced years of cleaning up her messes into a hobby. My mother still said nothing. My stepfather chewed slowly, watching me the way men watch storms through glass, waiting for the impact. Then Rachel's husband, Dean, made the mistake that changed the evening. He laughed, a deep, arrogant sound, and said, "That's why the family trust is safer with Rachel handling appearances." I looked up for the first time, my eyes locking onto his, because Dean had just mentioned something they were never supposed to know, something that was legally impossible. And the moment he saw my expression, his smile disappeared. The trust had my name on every controlling document, not Rachel's, not Dean's, mine. 3 years earlier, after my father died, he left instructions clear enough to survive a war. Rachel could receive distributions, but she could not manage assets or represent the family in business. I was executor, trustee, and the only one with signing authority. He hadn't made that decision out of cruelty. He had made it after Rachel nearly lost a rental property trying to impress people with money she didn't have. So when Dean mentioned Rachel handling appearances, I understood two things instantly. First, they were pretending she had power she did not possess. Second, someone had shown them paperwork they should never have seen. I took a sip of water and asked, "What exactly is Rachel handling?" Rachel smiled too quickly. "Don't do this here." That answer told me everything. Then Charles, eager to impress his mother again, announced the one detail Rachel had forgotten to hide. "Mom said the hotel people loved her signature." The room went still. Rachel turned toward Charles so sharply his fork clattered against the plate. "Finish your dinner." But children ruin strategy because they don't understand timing. Charles kept talking. "She said Aunt Nora never reads anything anyway, so it was easy." My mother finally looked at me then, and in her eyes I saw it, the awful recognition of a lie becoming visible. Rachel had used my name. Again. Only this time it sounded bigger, cleaner, more expensive. I set my glass down with both hands so no one would see the tremor. "What hotel?" I asked. Dean cut in too fast, claiming the boy was making things up. Charles frowned. "The Vineyard one. For Grandma's anniversary." Rachel rose. "Nora, kitchen. Now." I stood up too, but not to follow her. I walked past the kitchen, took my coat from the hook, and sent one message before I reached my car. I didn't text Rachel. I texted Martin, the family attorney. "Need copies of every request submitted in my name during the last 90 days. Tonight." Then I drove home without dessert, without a scene, without giving Rachel the public fight she was baiting me into. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up with 3 missed calls from her, then 6 from my mother, then a voice note from Dean trying to sound offended instead of afraid. I didn't open any of them. At 10:14 p.m., Martin emailed me 12 documents and a single sentence. Call me before you react. I opened the files one by one. Banquet contract, premium wine package, private event insurance, deposit authorization. Each carried a digital signature assigned to me, accessed, which meant Rachel hadn't just used my name. She had gotten into my account. And buried in the last attachment was the piece that turned family humiliation into criminal exposure. Rachel had pledged trust backed reimbursement for an event the trust was legally forbidden to fund. By morning, she had rewritten the story. My mother called crying, saying I had embarrassed Rachel by storming out. Dean sent a long message about family unity. Rachel sent nothing at all, which told me she was busy building a version of events where I was cruel and unstable. Spin always moves faster than truth because truth has to be checked, so I checked it. Martin confirmed the digital access came from Rachel's home IP address. The hotel manager confirmed I had personally guaranteed the balance. Their event was in 4 days, 80 guests invited, everything designed to make Rachel look like the woman my father prevented her from becoming. I asked Martin, "Can I stop payment?" He answered, "Legally, yes." I asked the second question more carefully. "Do I have to warn her first?" When he finally replied, his answer sounded less like advice than permission. I did not expose Rachel to the family. I exposed her to procedure. Martin sent formal notices, unauthorized representation, revoked guarantee, suspended payment, clean language, no drama, just consequences. Rachel called 19 times. Dean pleaded. My mother begged me to fix this privately, which was funny, because private was where Rachel thought she was safest. I still didn't answer. That evening, Rachel came to my house. She wasn't angry anymore. She was terrified. She stood on the porch, her face hard and tired. "You'd destroy me over one mistake?" she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment, the silence finally hers to deal with. "No, Rachel," I said. "I just stopped serving it." At the next Sunday dinner, Charles stood when I entered, and for the first time, everyone else did too. The system hadn't changed, the hands on the wheel had. This was always how the story ended. I just finally stopped pretending I wasn't the narrator.